Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. We are awfully glad that you're here. I think we have a challenging bit of conversation, information to go over tonight. There's a couple of things going on in the outside world, and we will discuss them. Elections and an invasion of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. Minor issues.
Very minor.
But we'll see what we can do.
But there's nothing else.
Bring them down to a digestible level so that we can figure out what's going on. We are gathered, full house tonight, in the Hilltop Studio. This is Richard Doc Owen that you are listening to. I am joined here by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
And I apologize if I'm going to have to build up to my normal level of energy because I took a nap this afternoon and I slept entirely too long. So I'm just getting it back together. And my breakfast of champions when I woke up was a bowl of chili. And I mostly know that because it's all over my shirt.
Oh, no. We forgot to give you a bib.
I didn't get a bib.
Chili bib.
Chili bib. We do. I think we'll do just fine tonight. We are all over the social media for the time being as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. We have a blog that we're going to put some considerable effort into coming up pretty quickly. It's docowenshow.com, and you can find us there. It is the primary source of Uncle Bocce's research for the time being, and we're going to blow it out just a little bit to make it more effective and fun. We also have free apps for both the iPhone and Android devices. That's a really, really, really good way to listen to the show as well as have access to all of, the vast majority of the shows we've done over the last 5 years. We're now in year 6. So there's a bunch of information out there that you should go out and listen to. We begin our show in a very traditional manner. Alma kicks us off with an inspirational note. Uncle Bocce follows with a bit of today in history, and then I close it out with some sort of a leadership quote or reading from the scripture having to do with leadership. So, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from a site that I'm surprised it took me almost all year to find it because it's called 2018 Inspirational Quotes. So we're already in the last 2 months of the year, and it comes under keyword search.
That's the same old story. When you want to hide something really well, make it conspicuous.
Yes, right.
People look right up. Just put it right in front of somebody, and they'll look right past it the whole time.
That's true. That's true. So it was really
It's called
weird.
Conspicuous anonymity.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
And tonight's quote, so it comes from a site called wisdomquotes.com.
Okay.
Yes. And it's by a gentleman that we actually studied in history with Uncle Bocce, Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. TJ, we called him.
Recap 3 big bullet points. The 3rd president of the U.S., also American founding father,
Yep.
and principal author of the Declaration of Independence.
Go, Jeffy.
Yep. And his quote is, if you want something you never had, you have to do something you've never done.
I like
There you
it.
go, yeah.
I'm from the South, and we heard that if you want something you've never had, you have to do something you never did.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's-
Yeah.
but I didn't know the source of it. Now I know the source of it.
Yeah.
Good job. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
I
you.
like
it.
Uh-huh.
The Bocce Rocket, what up?
Yes, so today, in 1765, Parliament enacts the Stamp Act. Remember, we studied that. There's a bunch of taxes on the colonies. And also, this day in 1800, John Adams moves into the White House.
Wait a minute. Today is the 1st of November?
Today is the 1st of November.
Why did Mr. Adams move in on the 1st of November? I thought the presidents normally moved in
Because it
in
wasn't,
January.
Yeah, it wasn't built yet.
Ah.
Yeah. George Washington did not live in the White House. And it wasn't even called the White House then.
What was it called?
I don't know. I know it wasn't called the White House.
Good question.
The presidential mansion, I think.
Obviously, they hadn't painted it yet. So
Yeah.
he moved in, but they still had to paint the outside.
It just looked like every other house.
It's-
Until
yeah,
they
it's
painted
just the-
white and said, that's the president's house.
And the neighbors were
Yeah.
talking to me. He said, big house down on the corner.
Yep.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Our quote tonight having to do with leadership comes from this little book called God Bless America. Prayers and Reflections for Our Country. And folks, these are due now. This is from Proverbs 3:13. Blessed is the man who finds wisdom, the man who gains understanding.
There you go.
Okay?
That's a good one.
Which is very challenging, and we will get into that. That basically is the show tonight.
That's
Is how do we cut through it? I mean,
yeah,
Yep.
that's
connecting.
good.
I mean, it's just it's unbelievable what's out there. Uncle Bocce,
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to dive into history for us, or I'm gonna give you a choice, or no, you're ready to dive in. Never mind. We're gonna a friend of ours, Dave Bray. We've got a piece of his that we want to do from his new storyteller album that he's got
Sure,
out there.
sure.
It's not really new now, but it's still new. It's not brand spanking new, but he's doing real well with it, and
Good.
it seemed appropriate to me with what the topic of the show is and the rest of the show, etc., that we play that. But we will play it after
Oh, okay.
after we have a moment of or two of history.
Good.
Okay,
Okay, good.
dive in. The floor is all yours.
Yeah,
until
thank you.
I interrupt you.
Yeah, until.
Okay.
Today we're going to talk about President Theodore Roosevelt. He was the 26th president of the United States, and he served from 1901 to 1909. He was vice president under McKinley.
Right.
But after McKinley won his second term, shortly thereafter, like a month or two, he was shot and killed.
Right.
So Theodore became
And by the way,
president.
to remind everybody, we established the fact that it was not an anti-McKinley
oh no,
deal that shot and killed him. It was just a random nut.
it was yeah, exactly. It was
Okay.
just an anarchist.
Okay,
Yeah.
which that's the same to me as a random nut, except they're not
Yeah.
random anymore.
No, yeah,
Go ahead.
exactly. He was the first president to leave U.S. soil. No president before him ever left the country, at least while they were president.
Really?
Yep. Because he traveled to Panama in 1906, and there's a very good reason why he did that. And he was the first American to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The first American to win the Nobel Peace Prize?
The first American. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
What I remember about him is he was a very colorful character.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
he was bigger than life.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And he was also a target of an assassination attempt in 1912. However, he was in Milwaukee and about ready to give a speech, and somebody shot him, and the bullet lodged in his chest. However, the big man that he is, he insisted that he did not want medical attention until after he finished his speech. Everything turned. I mean, yeah.
So I take it this was a musket fired at some distance.
Yeah. Well, actually, what happened was he had this huge speech, very thick, and he had it in his jacket
Breast
pocket.
Right.
And that's what slowed the bullet was that thick paper
Okay.
that he had it on. So
let
yeah.
that be a lesson to you,
Yeah.
all you youngsters out there. be sure to wad all of your homework up in your breast pocket in case you get shot at.
That's true.
So he came into office after McKinley was shot. He was 42 when he came into the presidency. And
Wow.
he still remains the youngest
I was going to
president.
say that's younger than JFK was.
That's absolutely right. He is the youngest, and one of his missions was to break trusts. Big corporations, and he was a trust buster. That was one of his big things, and the people cheered that because they had already warmed to the man as a personality, so they liked him.
Was he a Republican or Democrat?
He was a Republican.
Okay, just
Yes.
curious.
In name only. Okay. He was very dynamic, as you can imagine, in personality, and he was filled with enthusiasm and vigor.
He was young.
Yeah. And he was more than just a successful politician. He was an accomplished writer, a fearless soldier, and a war hero. The Battle of Juan Hill in San Juan Hill in Puerto Rico. And he was a dedicated naturalist.
Roosevelt's Rough Riders.
Yes, exactly. He's considered by most historians to be one of the greatest presidents. He is, but there are some things about him that, to me, are personally don't.
Certainly
really
one of the most
appreciate.
colorful.
Absolutely. And he's one of the four on Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
Four faces.
Yep.
Okay. Now, as far as education, he started his education at home. He was tutored by his aunt and then later by some other professional tutors. And then he entered Harvard at the age of 18. That was in 1876. And when he graduated Harvard, he decided to go to Columbia Law School for a lawyer.
Okay.
He stayed there for a year, dropped out so he could begin his political career.
Yeah, he figured out he's going to have to wind up hanging out with a bunch of lawyers.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. Now, he had a bunch of court appointments. He was very good, 74 and 3 nominations to the Supreme Court. And
Which 3 out of how many?
total of 74, 3 of which.
No, but 3. How many people were on the Supreme Court?
Oh,
when he
it was still 6.
Exactly. That was my point.
Right. So half the court.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. One of his big things was called the Square Deal, and he also was into conservationism. So this group of progressive policies, and I say that word, remember we talked about it, he was definitely a progressive,
Right.
more so than he was a Republican. He wanted to limit the power of large corporations, something that still goes on today, protecting consumers from unsafe products, and we'll see what he did, and he promoted the conservation of natural resources. Okay. Now, he succeeded in every one of those areas. Let's take a look at one of his big accomplishments, which was the Panama Canal.
Yep.
Now, America has been talking about building a canal across Central America. The French tried it in the Isthmus of Panama, and they found it to be devastating. So they just said, we're out of this. We don't want to do this. So Roosevelt made a proposal and bought the contract.
The
from
French
them.
are not exactly known for their outdoor toughness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know.
So the problem that he had with it, however, was that Panama was then part of Colombia. It was a province of Colombia, and Colombia refused to give him the right to do that. So when a rebellion started in Panama, he went down there. That's why he went to Panama. And he put his ships out there by Panama, and he helped the rebels to win. So Panama became a country. He signed a contract with them, and that's how the Panama Canal was built.
That revolution was started by the CIA. You know that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I didn't know they had a CIA in Panama. but-
the United States CIA.
yeah.
Whatever they called them at the time, that's who started it.
Okay, as far as consumerism is concerned, he had the Pure Food and Drug Act passed. He also had the Meat Inspection Act passed. He was instrumental. Russia and Japan were at war at this time. Okay, so in his foreign policy thing, what he did was he negotiated a peace treaty between the two, and it was the Treaty of Portsmouth, and that was in 1905. So he got those two to stop fighting. However, what happened was that there was an unwelcome Japanese citizens moved to San Francisco. Had an influx. Remember, the first people that we had immigration problems with were the Chinese.
Right.
Now this was a big deal for the Japanese, and San Francisco did not want them there. They passed a law to say they must go to separate schools and all of that. So he intervened and he convinced the school board to change the order, and they finally compromised, and that was known as the Gentleman's Agreement. Okay. Let's see, where am I? He also negotiated a resolution to the anthracite coal strike in 1902. He was interested in government supervision of insurance companies, investigation of child labor conditions, employer liability laws, and a law giving Interstate Commerce Commission power to regulate railroad rates.
Okay.
So he did all of that. So actually what you could say about Theodore Roosevelt is that he was the one who put in place for the first time, or the progression toward the modern administrative state.
So he was not about small government.
No.
It doesn't sound like it at all.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. No, he was not. He was very, and I didn't know this about him until I started studying. He was very, very much interested in, globalism and all the things that the progressive people think about now.
And I'm going to take you all the way back to something you said in the very beginning.
Yeah.
He was the youngest president we've ever had.
Yes.
And that to me goes along with the posture of what we're just talking about, how he conducted his business.
Sure.
The older we get, the more we understand.
Yeah.
The more wisdom we have.
Yep. So he completely embraced the progressive agenda.
Mm-hmm. He was idealistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Controls over the railroad and the entire industrial economy. He made the Bureau of Corporations a full-fledged regulatory agency. And he also pushed for, and I didn't know this either, he pushed for a graduated income tax and inheritance tax. So here are the first seeds of, governmental taxation where they shouldn't be. He attacked the courts for outdated judicial philosophy.
I don't like this guy nearly as much as I did before.
There you go. But see, these things, he planted all these seeds.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Woodrow Wilson that was evil, but he planted. He was a good.
Woodrow Wilson was evil. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But
Roosevelt at least was not an evil man.
I think he was idealistic.
His heart was in the right direction.
But he just didn't.
And he said the best way to secure peace was to prepare for war.
Was to keep.
Who said that? Washington.
Yeah.
President Washington. How am I doing on time?
You're out.
I'm out.
You're
Okay.
done.
I could. Okay.
You asked.
There's a lot more.
I know.
It's pretty interesting.
I know. It's tough to.
Yeah, it
to,
really
to
is.
change gears on
what
you've been doing for the last year.
Yeah.
We're shifting.
That's okay. we can stop there just with the idea that he fully embraced the progressive agenda. And
Right.
then next, if you don't mind, I can continue this next week and give you some more
It's okay.
thoughts on
So-
progressivism and all that.
That's fine. And to our challenge of going down the presidents, pushback, no pushback, to everybody, both sides, all sides of the aisle embraced his presidency.
No, the Democrats really never did embrace him.
Well, they're idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry.
were-
Was that out loud?
I mean, he slaughtered
they
them
were-
in the polls.
But you just told me he enacted their agenda.
He enacted the progressive agenda. Democrats were not progressive at the time.
Oh, they weren't.
They weren't part of the progressive movement
Dinesh-
until Woodrow Wilson.
Really?
Yeah. That's my understanding.
Well, I thought Dinesh said they didn't change sides.
What didn't change that?
The Democrats and the Republicans didn't change sides. That they've always been over there on that side.
Abraham Lincoln wasn't a progressive.
No, wasn't he a Republican?
He was a Republican, yes.
Okay. Well, you confused me. I'm glad to know it because that's why we wanted to do this research was
Yes.
to see, what the other side did when the guy was elected.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they didn't embrace him at all, except all the things you just told me he did were very progressive, which I
Mm-hmm.
would assume to be the Democrat Party. But what
Not
you're
at
telling
this
me
point
is
in
at
time,
that
yeah.
point in time, the
Right.
Democrat Party was not progressive.
The progressive resided in the Republican Party at first.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. We'll see where it goes from there.
All right.
Who are you? Just came in
I
and
am
turned
Uncle
everybody's
Bachi.
upside
You
down.
can reach me at unclebaci at docowenshow.com.
Cards and letters.
Thank you,
Yep.
Uncle Bachi.
Thank you.
Well done, lad.
Thank you for keeping me on time.
Well, sure. I'll show you how to find that. There's a clock on your computer screen.
Yeah, I know, and
Okay.
I should be using it.
Well, we just found the one.
And
for
I don't say nothing because I just kind of enthralled by it.
Oh, it's good
Yeah,
information.
Yeah, yeah.
It's good information. And just so the audience will know, I've been after Uncle Bachi for many months to produce his own podcast. 15 to 30 minutes and put it out there because it's a lot. It's very good information. Having it as a brief segment of the show is in no way, not doing it doesn't do justice to it. I would prefer, because of all the work that he does, I would love to see him do his own thing, but he'd rather dig in the dirt in his garden than peck away on a computer screen, I think, or something.
There's a change coming.
Oh, okay. There we go.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
And then a New Year's coming
He's
too.
building up to it. So before we dive into talking about the next election, which should be coming up relatively soon, early voting has started, which means the day of the vote generally follows early voting by about a day or so. So when they start announcing early voting, I'm like, oh, we got an election coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted...
Tuesday the 6th.
Huh?
Yep.
Tuesday the 6th.
And we're going to talk about the invasion that is still coming our way, folks. Before we do that, I'd like, just so you'll know kind of what Doc Owen's frame of mind is. I got a deal from a place that I read called preparednessnews.com. Okay. Preparedness News. Oh, preparedness.news. All right. This is an article on the 5 guns you will need when SHTF. If our audience doesn't know what that means, look it up in your little acronym dictionary. You'll need a semi-auto. I'm not going to read each paragraph, but it tells you why. You're going to need a semi-automatic pistol, i.e. a Glock 45, something like that. You're going to need a pump-action shotgun. You're going to need a large caliber hunting rifle, distance. You're going to need a small caliber survival rifle, 22 to shoot things that you can eat. Semi-automatic defensive rifle. So,
Wow.
that's what you need to go shopping for.
That's what yeah.
But would it be
For
in
Christmas.
Texas? You need at least some revolvers too in Texas. I
Well,
think.
this is kind of like a generic idea for the entire
prepared.
United States.
Yeah.
We will,
Survival.
in a little bit, talk about Texas in particular, perhaps. Okay? You all right? Okay. Right now, I want to give a little homage to a friend of ours by the name of Dave Bray, who has this talking album out there. And frankly, I've forgotten the name of it. But if you go to Dave Bray USA, you'll see it. I mean, it's
Music on a mission.
Music on a mission. All right.
There you go.
And what we're going to talk with, the one he's going to do tonight, I'm not going to do any introduction for it. But what he does on the album is there's a track of him talking, telling a little bit of a story, about a 3-minute story, followed by the appropriate piece of music that goes with that story.
Yes.
All right. So
You'll enjoy it.
and you will figure out what it is the minute Ima clicks the go button. Go.
God Bless America. God Bless America is a song we all know and love, and like the Star Spangled Banner, it has parts and verses not well known by the American public. Although it was written by a young Jewish immigrant by the name of Irving Berlin during World War I, it was never released until World War II with the uprising of Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich. It was put over the airwaves on Armistice Day, 1938, and sung by the great Kate Smith as a song of peace and as a prayer for our sons and daughters who are putting themselves in harm's way to defeat the German Empire in a faraway land. Over the years, the introduction and prayer portion has slowly been lost and weathered its way into the archives. Lost into the history books, much like any and everything else in this country that speaks outwardly about prayer, God, or Christianity. Now, I'm going to tell you this with a level of absolute certainty that some of you politically correct type folks might not want to hear. But it is my firm belief that without God, there is no country. It seems that since the removal of God from our schools, our courthouses, our public facilities, and not surprisingly from our homes and hearts, that things have taken a very scary turn for this country. Today, we fight a different kind of war. It's based on the foundation of fear, the devil's favorite tool. It is passive and prescribed drug abuse. It's protests turning violent. It's school shootings and cop assassinations. It's trucks driving through crowds and exploding rice cooker bombs. But aside from these terroristic distractions, there is yet a bigger war that we are losing at a much faster and scarier rate. It is the war for the minds of our children. It is happening in our homes and coming from our televisions. It's in our schools and being slid into the curriculum, and on damn near every street corner, it is being shoved down their throats. The attack is perverse. It's physical, mental, pharmaceutical, and worst of all, it's digital. It's passive, it's violent, it's commercial, it's social, and yes, it's contagious. It's participation trophies and belly rubs. It's video games and tech addiction. It's ignorance, apathy, and lack of parenting and respect. Sadly, it's not showing any signs of getting any better. And that's just the war for your children's minds. You see, no one has the guts to come out and say that these issues are directly correlated to the godlessness that has blanketed this country. For the sake of future generations, I beg you to bring God back. Back to your courthouses and public grounds. Back into your schools. And most importantly, back into your hearts and into your homes. You see, America is our home. And I think it's time that we brought the prayer back. This is God Bless America.
Home, home, sweet home. This land I love is blessed from above. So while the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us all be grateful for our land that's still free. Let us all swear allegiance to our land that's so fair, as we raise up our voices to the air in this solemn prayer. God bless America, this land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with your light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home, my home, sweet home. God bless America, this land that I love. Stand beside her, please guide her through the night with your light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home, my home, sweet home, my home, sweet
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely beautiful.
Dave Bray, B-R-A-Y, Dave Bray, USA. I'm proud to call him a friend.
Yes.
His heart's in the right place. So, let's do a little segue into talking about how that might be what is called for as we deal with, that's the quote that I put out there at the beginning of the show about wisdom, as we deal with what's coming at our southern border. Mm-hmm. And forgive the Doc Owen show, if we have a very heightened view of this attack that is about to hit, because they're coming straight at Texas. Mm-hmm. And from what I'm reading on the back channels, I know what we're being told about the military and the Border Patrol and ICE and formal preparations that are being made. But there are also very serious informal preparations being made by militias from all over the country, mm-hmm. as well as armed citizens
Yes.
across the Texas border.
Absolutely.
And probably armed citizens all over Texas are on heightened alert mm-hmm. because of what we're seeing in the news.
That's correct.
So I don't mean to be, throwing gas on a fire, gasoline on a fire.
No, go right ahead.
But the latest number that I got, and I queried Uncle Bocce before the show to see, what information we're getting from different sources. And the last number that was put out there by President Trump was up to 15,000 troops would be dispatched to the border. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean Texas. That means the border.
It's correct.
From California through Arizona, a little piece of New Mexico, mm-hmm. and Texas.
That's right.
Right now, Texas has the bulk of that.
Yes. Yeah.
But still, we're not in this alone, mm-hmm. and they are not coming at us alone. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are splinter groups coming across all areas of that southern border. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be some very legitimate proof that they're not, by any means, all asylum seekers.
They're not. No, I agree with you.
First of all, let's get a definition of asylum. Mm-hmm. I went out there and looked it up the last time this happened 2 years ago.
He's so good, isn't he?
So I'm going to do it from memory. I read it from the textbook, from the Federal Register that says this is how you qualify for asylum. All right, and you have to be being persecuted for whatever reason by your home government. Correct. Because of your ethnicity or your religious background, or in other words, there has to be some sort of an attempted almost genocide going on in your home country for you to qualify as an asylum seeker to the United States of America. Other than that, you have no legal right. Mm-hmm. We have no legal obligation to take you in.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I might suggest to you, if any of you that are listening are happen to think about this, they're really not endearing themselves to us as they come up here by burning our flag and chanting "Kill Trump," and all of this anti-American sentiment.
Very much so.
I don't. I mean, how dumb can you be? You know what I mean? It's like they're going to come up here and do the same thing after they get here.
Yeah, so that's why we call it an invasion.
And not immigration.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And they're waving Honduran flags and Guatemalan flags. No American flag. The only thing to do with American flags, as you said, is burning them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if they and they're burning everything in its path. I mean, the Mexican government did the right thing and got the UN involved, and they were going to offer them shelter and food and asylum in Mexico, and that wasn't good enough. And not only did they decline it, they burned the shelters that were being provided for them on their way through to cover their escape, quote unquote. And I don't know what the latest number on it is, but I mean, the United States of America could not be more, at least firm. One of the dots that I can't connect is the deafening silence of the Democrats.
Yes,
The
and
absolute,
the media.
Well, same thing.
Same thing. right.
The deafening silence of the mainstream media, no coverage, very little, and the political party, the Democrat political party. I mean, I think they're trying to figure out how to get them here in time to vote.
Got
You know,
that right.
they've lost. They thought they had it all calculated, and it looks like they're not going to make it up here in time to vote on Tuesday
No.
to cross the border by in time to. So, help me out, Bocce.
Yeah, I don't think they've even reached Mexico City yet. So that's how far away they are.
Yeah. Are they slowing down? I understand they're getting rides. That they're no longer walking. They get out and walk for the camera.
Right.
But
they actually demanded buses to get them here faster. They demanded buses to get here.
well, wait. But the worst part about that story is what happened. They provided the buses.
They did. That's right. I don't know who provided them, whether it was Mexico or the UN or whatever.
or
But the UN is completely silent on this.
Soros-affiliated organization called,
Yep. Bring down America.
Help Speedy Gonzalez out. Help him get to America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Now that was racist. Come on, Doc.
could
Speedy Gonzalez.
Don't you
That's like
remember him?
Frito Dorito.
yeah,
Racist.
It's the Frito Bandito.
What did I say?
Frito Dorito. That's like two chips having
Frito
it out.
Bandito. What did I say?
You said
Frito Dorito. I was like, that actually might taste good with that new dip I made.
hey, man.
Oh
Okay,
yes.
we're out of control.
Yeah.
So, but the folks, I mean, think about it. Just give it some real good, solid thought. There is no way possible that this is a grassroots, purely generated movement. I mean, they are using this walk. There are people using this walk up here to build and foment hatred towards the United States.
That's correct.
And they had that same feeling that the very first step they took, that was their intention. I think that my only conjecture is that the Democrats are being silent because it is a no-win situation for them.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like,
Yeah.
they think they're just going to walk over here?
The cards were so stacked against sympathy for this group that there's no point in trying to get that out there.
Yeah.
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 So what happens? I mean, what happens? I mean, they keep coming and we literally, because they're throwing Molotov cocktails. There are armed
There's an armed
citizens.
contingent.
There's an
Yep.
armed contingency buried within some semi-legitimate people seeking work, which, if you'll notice, the definition of asylum does not include running from poverty.
Right.
We all be running then.
several times.
That's right.
So, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you've got to be coming here as an asylum away from a government that is trying to wipe you out, and that's not what these people are doing, in no way, shape, or form. So, I don't know, since the mainstream media is not covering it, Trump has said up to 15,000 troops. He has already assigned 45 additional judges to oversee the asylum yes or no question.
Yeah, that's right. I
with these
forgot
people.
about that part.
All
Yeah.
right? And he says we're going to build tent cities on the border. We're going to hold them. We're going to adjudicate them right there. There is no more catch and release and giving them a court date to
That's correct.
which they will ignore and be
Run
off into the woods, never to be found again.
And why would anybody object to that? That's such a good thing for our country, but people object to it.
On what grounds? I mean, why do they say they object to that?
Because of their heart. They're bleeding. These poor people.
So there are some people out there that are trying to pull the heartstring, but they're not doing a very good job.
Right now they're not, because it's a political issue. They want to stay away from it.
Is it a political issue because it's a midterm election? According to now,
I don't know how much
we're back again to 2016. According to the polls, there's no way in the world that the Democrats are not going to win both the House and the Senate in this upcoming election.
Correct.
According to the polls,
based on history,
well, not just based on history. According to the current polls,
yes,
they're in complete control of some of these, and I've never seen such a barrage of emails and tweets and text messages asking for money from both sides.
Yeah,
Doc Owen. I mean, I get information. I'm on everybody's mailing list. All right, I don't play favorites in terms of the information that I take in, because I like to know. And I've never seen such a barrage of requests for money. And to me, that's what this is about.
Absolutely.
This is about raising political money to go into a political campaign to either get or maintain power.
Exactly. Have you noticed that some of these requests for money are attached to a quadruple donation?
They all are. They're all 3, 4, or 5
that's what
times.
I'm saying. But before, I don't remember seeing that before. This is new. But go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so you have to. I'm urging you to think for yourself, to think through it. I mean, I can't imagine a logical thinking, critical thinking individual who would agree that it's a good idea to let 3, 4, 5, however many thousand young people into this country who for the previous 2 or 3 weeks while they were headed this way have been telling us in no uncertain terms they're coming here to destroy our way of life.
That's right.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Would you let somebody in your front door that says, open the front door because I want to come rob you and take everything you've got, and if you're lucky, I'll let you live? Oh, sure, come on in.
Yeah. It's
Cup of coffee?
Excellent analogy.
Spot of tea? Cookies?
Excellent
I'm sure you've had a hard day. Could I get you something to eat? Hell no, you'd be drawing your guns saying, get the hell out of here.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I mean,
No.
that mentality.
It defies logic. Now, if they want to come up here and change their tune and all sit down and form a single line and get their papers out and tell their story in front of a judge, I think that's great. I think that I don't blame them at all for trying, but you're not going to force your way into my house without a fight.
Exactly.
And I regret that for right now, it appears that our federal government feels the same way that I just expressed.
Yeah.
And I say I regret it because I think these people are, and another school of thought that I read was that these folks that are fomenting all of the anger from inside the group are doing nothing but setting them up, and they're going to turn around and kill some of them, a lot of them,
probably,
and blame it on us.
Blame it on us, or blame it on Trump.
Well,
you mentioned it before, though. The militia.
Yes.
I know in Texas, I don't know about the other states, but I know in Texas there are several civilian militia who are arming up and going to the border as well.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
No,
they're going to be there to help.
Well,
look at the movement though now.
Not just them. There are militias have a tendency to support each other. Remember when we had the Texas militia went out and helped with the Bundy Ranch deal.
Sure.
You know, I mean, the militias tend to support each other. They're in close contact with each other. So, yeah, it's all hands on deck when it comes to the United States border and the militias, et cetera. But I got to give, I mean, I think there's a lot of very good, well-meaning, conscientious members of the militia.
Yeah.
But you also got to know there's a lot of trigger-happy shopping center guard wannabes that are in this group, and it creates a far more tense situation, because the authorities are going to hold back, and a member of the militia who can kind of make himself invisible in amongst all the others, they're not going to think twice.
Yeah.
You're
right.
They're not going to think twice.
But we're protecting our way of life, people.
That's what a lot of folks don't seem to understand.
That is what they don't understand.
They don't.
When we call it an invasion, we're serious about these people are coming here to destroy our way of living. Just like, ancient times when people attacked because they wanted to put their own stamp, on the culture, and
they've been told since they were children that the reason they're living in poverty is because the United States has too much.
Yes, they have been. Yes,
they have.
Yeah,
they've been told it's our fault, when in fact it was their own government's fault, and the United States was giving money to the government. Supposedly to be dispersed to the citizens, but it never is. Time and time and time again, I've been watching this kind of monkey bull sugar for 50 years. Every country in the world, the authorities keep the money that we give them.
Exactly.
They do not use it for the betterment of their citizens.
They do not.
They use it to keep their citizens down, and yet we keep giving it. And it's one of the things that I happen to support Mr. Trump on.
Yes.
And that is, no.
Yeah. He's moving toward that.
Moving toward that. And that's going to create a serious hubbub around the world about how, he's gone full fascist. No. He's gone full protectionist. Sorry, folks. That's what we got to do. You're trying to rob our bank. We're going to protect our bank.
That's right.
End of discussion. You start doing the right thing with what we give you and the reason we give it to you, we'll go back to giving it to you. It's no different than your local church. It's no different than your local charity. Just on a far bigger scale. So we got about a minute left. Let me plant some seeds of thought. Use your usually challenged critical thinking capabilities. Lately, we're not known for doing very much of that, and we must in this situation. And that is take all of the visuals in. Take all of the things that you're being told in, and see if that is somebody that you'd like to have over for dinner. Break it right down to your own personal level. Is this something that you're going to be comfortable with, a tent city on your front yard?
That's right.
And that's the way you have to look at it, because they're going to come up, they're going to pitch their tent out in your front yard, they're going to crap on your lawn, and then they're going to move on to the next city, and they're just going to keep, and they're going to. Rut-row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.